Hello and welcome to another wonderful time on Issues. This beautiful day, we will be looking at a trending situation. It is an issue. Some people call it problem. Some people call it wahala. But whatever you call it, it depends on the kind of adjective you want to use, the kind of grammar, sentence, word, phrase you want to use. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, my guest will be joining me on the program like we do it usually on the issues. Two guests on the program tonight. In fact, I'm going to have a public affairs analyst and also a lawyer. What are we talking about? Have you heard about the arrest of the former governor of Kaduna State? First of all, it was an attempted arrest at the airport. Then an invitation. I said, no, you don't just have to run after me like that. I'm a Nigerian and I have my rights too. But then, as it is, so many things going on, and of course, Nigerians are saying, well, what exactly is happening? Is it an arrest? What is the problem? Okay, jumping into somebody's privacy, some people said, well, it's an offense, but then when it gets to an area where an arrest is attached to it, then you need to know that, the cyber law is maybe taking its toll there. What is the real issue? As a matter of fact, the recent arrest and prosecution of Nasir El-Rufai have sparked intense political and legal debates across Nigeria. Once a powerful figure within the All Progressive Congress and former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai now finds himself at the center of allegations ranging from corruption-related investigations to claim of unlawful actions connected to national security concern. Anything that has to do with security is a situation, an issue in Nigeria right now, looking at the terrorist situation that we have, the insecurity everywhere. But then his situation has not only raised questions about accountability for public officials, but also ignites discussions about whether the charges represent genuine law enforcement effort or politically motivated action. You see why I told you it's an issue? All right, that is it. Because you need to look at it from the both angle, both sides. If or not, what is happening is ignited discussion about whether the charges represent genuine law enforcement effort or it is politically motivated, where people have two sides to the coin. At least by the time Mr. Ozemena joined us on the program, and of course Mr. Okay, we will, I don't know. I think this thing is going to be macheting. We'll machete the situation, the issue, because as it is right now, the way it's going, you need to pieces this thing and have a better understanding whether it is a genuine law enforcement effort or the whole drama is politically motivated action. But as the nation looks ahead to the 2027 general election, which a lot of people are talking about today, I think El-Rufai's legal battles are being closely watched for their potential impact on party politics, because you can't take that away. This is one man that was so powerful in the All Progressive Congress and was in the APC. I could remember his time as the FCT minister, all powerful, the most talked about FCT ministers. And then you get to Kaduna State and you're like, wow, this governor, well on top of his assignment, everything, accusations, so many things happening. But then his impact cannot be overemphasized. But then you would also call the name of El-Rufai if you want to look at power dynamics in northern Nigeria and the broader democratic landscape. But then the unfolding event presents a defining moment that could reshape political alliances and influence public trust in Nigeria's justice and governance system. Don't you think this is an issue to talk about? Yes, the invitation, what has transpired so far, is it also part of what a lot of Nigerians have said, this could also be because it's not in APC anymore? I don't know. Well, let's look at it, if it is really coming from the place of true justice or is politically motivated. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, I will have a lawyer join us on the conversation, and also a public affairs analyst join us on the conversation. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return again and we will go ahead to look at the issue proper. El-Rufai and, of course, the current situation is what we are looking at this evening on Issues. Stay with us. All right, let's get into the conversation. Well, this is how issues happen. You can always talk to us from there on our social media platform. We are streaming live on YouTube as it is. And of course, you can drop your comments for us and we react to it. The issue of El-Rufai right now, we want to talk about it just a little bit. We'll just touch the areas we can touch so far. Now, joining me on the conversation, my first guest is already seated in the person of Emmanuel Ozemena. It's good to have you join us in the studio.
Yeah. Good evening, Ransom, and good evening, viewers.
Well, this is Issues, and well, during my introduction, I talked about the fact that the whole scenario, a lot of people are going to read meaning to it. Who is El-Rufai, based on your own definition, in Nigerian politics?
Well, I think I got to know El-Rufai sometime in 1998 when he emerged as an advisor to the then military president, General Absalami Abubakar, even though it was a very brief administration, about 11 months or thereabout. And by the time the Fourth Republic started, his name came up as the chairman, the Director General of Bureau for Public Enterprise, BPE. And here we are, over time, in the last 28 years or thereabout, he has been a recurring decimal in Nigeria's political history. He has moved on from BPE to become the FCT minister, there on to become the governor of Kaduna State, two-term governor of Kaduna State. You know, And El-Rufai is also a very controversial figure in terms of, you could say, whatever he wants to achieve at any point in time, he knows how to do it. He's been a member of the ruling party. He has also been a member of the opposition party at one time or the other, and back to a member of the ruling party, and now back again, back to back as an opposition figure in Nigeria's political environment. That's El-Rufai for you.
All right. Looking at what is happening right now to El-Rufai, let me begin with some very critical questions right now, because we need to look at it. Do you think, in your own opinion, are there, this whole thing, is there a political undertone? Or you feel, well, this is what it is, this is just the real thing, the law trying to take it course?
If you say politics, we're in season of politics. I mean, in the next 11 months, I'm sure by this time next year, we would have been lining up for the polls. I mean, this is in the next 11 months, I'm sure by now, based on the calendar by INEC, we'll be voting. So the election or campaign or for 2007 has continued. So every other thing happening around the events now, you could say that is politics. But again, I think it would be unfair not to allow the courts or the law enforcement agencies, EFCC, DSS and whatever, to do their job. But let's see how it unfolds. But I think it will be a very, very long process, and it will also be something some people, analysts, citizens, and what have you, would think is all part of the 2027 agenda or politics. But it will be really an interesting season, I can assure you.
All right, let's get into the conversation in full. All right, how would you describe the political relationship between El-Rufai and Nuhu Ribadu, the NSA?
To the best of my knowledge, based on history of being a watcher of Nigerian politics, I think the NSA, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, and former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, are very close friends. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they've been friends over the years, beginning from their days at Ahmadu Bello University and up to now. Because what would you say would have happened? You know, sometimes when people quarrel or there seems to be an altercation in the public space, it's a question of time, maybe one thing or the other brings them back again. But I can't say exactly what their relationship looks like now. But I know, and most Nigerians also are aware that they are really good friends.
All right, but do you think there is anything that may have influenced this tension so far? The issue of phone, tapping into phone, whatever, between the NSA and, of course, Nasir El-Rufai? Because some persons are saying, well, all these things maybe, all right, it is just an attempt to get attention or something, but some people are saying, well, this is wrong. Some people are saying this would have been ignored. So many things. Nigerians are saying so many things. What are you saying?
You know, when I listened to Malam Nasiru El-Rufai's interview, I watched it on the television, and I recall the anchor asked him when he made that statement. The anchor was clear and said, look, are you sure? But it's illegal. And he quickly, I don't know whether it was an intentional statement or was it a slip or was it, so I think at the moment, it's better to really, keep guessing. Whatever I say or any other person says is actually conjecture. It's only Malam Nasiru El-Rufai who will tell us, well, I wanted to get an attention or I did it. it's neither here nor there at the moment. But the point is that because he said it, and is public, and is in the public domain, so I think the federal government could act on the facts of himself saying it, we did it, or I got this, that type of. What I think is only Malam Nasir El-Rufai who will tell us whether was it an attention, was it a clout chasing moment, or did he really did it, or did he really mean it? But it's only him who can tell us why he said that.
All right. One thing that a lot of people have said about Nasir El-Rufai is the fact that people describe him in Nigeria in so many ways. People say so many things about him when he was the FCT minister, when he was the governor of Kaduna State. Some people have said his departure from the All Progressive Congress is what is giving birth to all of this, especially the attempted arrest at the airport. Is that worth it? Is that the right way to go? Some persons have faulted it, and some other persons have said, well, it has happened to a lot of people like that before. So what's different with the former Kaduna State governor?
I think the first thing we need to do is to go through his political trajectory. First, in 1998, advisor to the former head of state, General Absalami Abubakar, transited into the Obasanjo, civilian regime in 1999 as the Director General of BPE. Mind you, BPE is the federal government agency around economic reforms. It used to, when Babangida set it up, General Babangida set it up, initially it was Privatization and Commercialization, Committee, TPTC. Then there was Dr. Hamza, the late Dr. Hamza Zayad, who was the chairman of that agency that finally became Bureau for Public Enterprise. And that was a very huge public office, because what it means, the privatization process, that was the agency that was going to drive it. And at that time, there was a lot of opinion by Nigerians. Should we privatize? What should we privatize? Should we keep? What should we keep? That debate was there. So, but Madam Nasir El-Rufai was able to navigate through that very tough moment. It was a turbulent policy moment, but he was able to navigate it, listed institutions that should be privatized and all that, and it happened. In fact, if you look at his record, that was one of the bold, most, you could say, an audacious leadership you can see anywhere, and he delivered that. And perhaps in recognition of that level of leadership, President Olusegun Obasanjo went on during his second tenure to appoint him as the Minister of FCT. And if you move around FCT, you could see the signature of El-Rufai everywhere. One of the things he did that you can't take away from him, whether you are his lover or hater or whatever, it's whether you are his enemy or foe, is that for the first time in the history of Abuja, we had leadership that said, look, we need to have green area. Green area simply means you could have parks where all over the city. It was El-Rufai who opened it up, that places were designated as green areas. And some of those green areas have been violated. You remember the Abuja debate around Abuja Master Plan. As a journalist, I've covered FCT. I covered FCT under General Moman Kontagora and into the civilian administration up to a point. So I had followed development around FCT. And El-Rufai, being a quantity surveyor, he's in the beauty industry. So he understands if you're going to have a city that will be world class, you should have green areas, you should have parks. It's all, whether in Paris, whether in DC, whether in Toronto, you must have green areas, you must have parks in the center of the city, because that's what makes the city vibrant and all that. So he stood his ground and delivered that. And by the time he left as FCT minister, I'm sure he would have also accumulated a lot of foes who say, look, this guy came and demolished our house. I read one of his interviews where he said they call him Mr. Demolition and all that. So in terms of controversy, he doesn't run away from controversy if you followed his career trajectory. And then he also had been a member of a ruling party, PDP, between 1998 to 2011. And by 2011, by 2007 rather, in 2007, under the leadership of the late President Omar Musa Yar'Adua, El-Rufai went on self-exile. He was out of the country at the initial time of President Omar Musa Yar'Adua administration. He was out of the country. He had to return back later towards the time before the demise of the former president. And perhaps at that point in time, he was unable to take a decision whether to rejoin PDP and all that. He decided to pitch his camp with General Muhammadu Buhari, then the leading opposition leader in ANPP. And shortly after that, General Muhammadu Buhari exited the ANPP and became the leader of Congress for Progressive Change, CPC. And in 2011, they contested in that election. I think if my memory serves me right, that party was just set up less than a year before the election of 2011, and they came second in that election. They were able to mobilize support. They were able to even win a governorship election in Nasarawa State. Alhaji Tanko Amakura. They delivered that election. They won it, and by 2015, when there was a coalition of parties, opposition parties, I believe if you followed it clearly, Malam El-Rufai also played a key role in that process of betting the APC. And today, I don't know what would have happened. Maybe the rejection of his ministerial appointment at the Senate or whatever. But he looks like an angry man and say, "Look, I'm fed up," and moved on back to opposition. So that's why I say for him, moving from a ruling party to opposition party means nothing. I mean, he looks like you could say a flexible politician who doesn't care. and this is where he is now.
All right. That is El-Rufai for you. El-Rufai is one force that a lot of Nigerians know. But then, let's take a quick break. After this break, we'll return and we'll continue with the conversation as we have our second guest join us as we move on with this issue. since the preparation towards 2027, a lot of things have unfolded. Should I call it the coming together of, well, I don't know what Nigerians are calling it, but then the coming together of some politicians, all right, to fight the All Progressive Congress. The whole thing stood out for me when any little thing, people will say, oh, because it's not in that party. If you're in the party, well, somebody made a statement sometime that if you're in the party, what's not, and all that. But then, this attempted arrest or invitation or whatever of El-Rufai is raising some kind of dust. Some persons are saying, well, is that what is required of the law? Some persons are saying, is it politically motivated? My second guest is already seated in the studio. He is a lawyer and a political analyst in the person of Dr. Oke Ezobo. It's good to have you join us on the program.
Sorry, I was held up.
Well, that's an unforeseen circumstance. It happens all the time. It's good to have you right here. We're looking at the graft allegation of the former governor of Kaduna State. That's EFCC interrogates and, of course, detains Nasir El-Rufai. A lot of persons, a lot of politicians have walked this line, and you all know how it ended. And some persons will say, well, is it what the law said or is politically motivated? Let's get started from you now, because we'll be talking. Now, with what is happening right now, looking at his antecedents in Kano State, in Kaduna State as a governor, and of course in FCT as an FCT minister, and you know his role when he was in the All Progressive Congress. He just left. So now, as it is, even this arrest as it is, because a lot of people talked of what he did in Kaduna State as a governor, some were for and others were against. Even with all these happenings, there have been a protest in Kaduna State, all right, as regards this. Looking at this whole scenario, how would you link this, all right, to the law as a lawyer with what is happening now? How would you link it with the law, the attempted arrest in the first place at the airport, you know, the invitation, the detaining him, and all of that with the whole scenario? Is it, and some persons were saying all of this, all right, is because he's no longer in APC, but I don't know what you think.
Well, it is difficult to say, pin down exactly government's motive or whatever. But what I can say is that for me, I believe that government did not handle the issue very well, the matter very well. There was no need for the drama that took place at the airport. There was no need for it. Government had the option of formally inviting him, which they say they had done, but unfortunately he was not in the country. So if he was not in the country and he was given an invitation, I think this drama can only come up if eventually he decides not to honor the invitation. As it were, they eventually invited him and he showed up. So there was no need for that drama. Then the other arm of it is that the law must take its course, rightly or wrongly. If it is true that El-Rufai has put his fingers where he shouldn't be, in the resources of the state of Kaduna, and soiled it as it were, or as they make us believe, there's nothing wrong in making him face the law. He can. He's a Nigerian. He should face the law if they find him guilty. The other undertone about whether he's in APC or not, these are conjectures. And of course, government has always given that room for conjectures at all point.
Some people are, well, it's all a rumor. Some people are saying, well, it's like APC have seen that this man is a strong force and they've let him go. He's going to cause problem and they are trying to cage him. Can that be true? How powerful is El-Rufai in politics? How powerful is El-Rufai, where we have the likes of, well, let me not mention him, you know, the timbers and calibers, mahogany and Iroko caliber of politicians that we have in the All Progressive Congress. So powerful. So is there any feeling that El-Rufai can actually cause some kind of fidgeting for APC in 2027?
I wouldn't really take it from there. I think I would rather look at it from the point of, I mean, let's get back to history. When Obafemi Awolowo died, there was a lot of struggle for leadership of that nation, that part of us, I mean, the Southwest, Yoruba, where we had the Awoists, you know, those who really professed to be Awoists. And as soon as he died, it was like, hey, where is our leader? And there was that competition, you know, people were really angling to become a leader to replace Obafemi Awolowo as the leader of that area and all that. So we had a number of them, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if the battle to take over the mantle of leadership of our former president, Buhari, has started in earnest. I wouldn't be surprised. Because without pinning down on the tribe, even if we go that way, of course, we all know El-Rufai is a Fulani leader. In every right, you know, I mean, he put it anywhere. He has never hidden his patronage of the Buhari administration and the Buhari himself. He said it. He has said it separately. That he's a Buharist. He has no apologies to that. You understand what I mean? So, what if what he's doing is trying to fill up that gap? That's what I feel. Somebody has to be talking for those that really were the real followers of Muhammad Buhari. He had life followership, and they were very, very fundamental in their followership of whatever Muhammad Buhari stood for before he died. So, if we're having a leader emerge from among them, so be it. And of course, we are beginning to see some people from the CPC, the traditional party of Muhammad Buhari, lending some support to El-Rufai here and there. At least I've read about 2-3 of them. I won't mention their names, but I've lent their support to whatever is happening to, I mean, for him now, not against him.
Oh, all right. The issue of phone interception, don't you think that is an issue of national security?
Well,
we're talking about the NSA here.
See,
with what Nigeria is facing, the security situation.
It's just a propaganda from him, of course. Why do I say so? Because I know that I've not operated within that structure, you know. But I know that it will be difficult for anybody to believe that one can just sit down and hack the phone number of our NSA. If it did happen, too bad. It's unfortunate and regrettable. Because there should be a channel for such discussions, not just the normal phone call and WhatsApp thing now. It should go beyond that. So if it happened, it's unfortunate that it did. And if one begin to call call into question the person of the NSA, well, you can give it to whoever is calling that into question, because there should be better protection, there should be better medium, you know, of communication. Are you getting me? Not just the normal hacking and all that. But again, when you look at the statement made by El-Rufai, he said, he was very clever too, because he said somebody did and informed him. He never said he did. But I want to believe that it is not, it may not have anything to do with somebody hacking or intruding into the full network of the NSA. It could just be somebody who was privy to such arrangement, you know, squealing it and then letting him know. I think that's the program. The fact that government is right to take it serious, at least until we are told that eventually it's not true that such a thing happened. It is a government that, as a matter of fact, we are having a lot of trust deficit in everything they do. So when you have such a government, then you begin to look at anything they tell you twice, 3 times, 4 times, you begin to keep on checking back and forth about that. Are you getting me? So, but I also know that we've not heard the last of this. We need to hear more. Government needs to come out clear about this. You see, the whole thing has become so murky and then it's being muddled up. Are we now talking about the breach of security from El-Rufai? Or are we talking of the corruption case he has?
I think the two together. One thing is leading to the other now.
Yeah, one thing could be leading to the other. But I want to say again that, like I said, the drama is what I'm against. For more than a year, or getting to 2 years, the Kaduna State government did a probe. And rightly or wrongly indicted El-Rufai. You understand what I mean? They indicted him and then came up with a report. And I'm not sure they had a white paper eventually. But of course, certain amount of money was programmed as what he frittered with. Okay. Why did it take government this long time to bring him up to answer for these charges? I'm not saying he may not have committed the offense. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that I think our security agencies and government officials should be able to find a way of coming clean at every point instead of, modeling up everything and people now begin to guess. Like you asked me earlier, assuming he was in APC, would they have arraigned him? But I also know that there were APC people who were arraigned in the past. But I also know that probably because they were APC, which I'm not sure of, their cases went downhill and nobody is hearing about them. And in a system where so many politicians, big-time politicians, are having baggages all over the place, and those people with those baggages are occupying various sensitive positions in government.
Oh, all right, let me get to Ozemena. Ozemena may differ in opinion. As it is right now, all right, this is issue of communication, this is issue of security, and looking at what Nigeria is facing. How would this situation, if it happens to be true, shaping the public debate of Nigerians as it has to do with the security situation now? That's to show how porous our security system is. Don't you think so?
Just like Aila said initially, that was El-Rufai trying to get attention? Was it clout chasing? Did he really mean it? Or what exactly did he mean?
Is that not too big to joke with?
Hold on. The question to ask is, in law, I'm not a lawyer, but while in school, I did quite a lot of courses in law. The first thing is intention, mens rea. So when he's arraigned, the first thing, the charges will be read, and they will ask him to take a plea. He either pleads guilty or not. And then the burden of proof, as it is in our law, the prosecution has to present evidence. The first evidence now would be the video of the interview. Am I correct? Then the other evidence would be, could you provide a timeline? So what network do the NSA use? So it will be a long drawn battle. But I think it also bringing new ideas in our jurisprudence on how does hacking happen, who does it, how do we prove it? Because this will be the first case of So in law, I'm sure the case will be cited eventually. So it will be an interest. So let's see how it goes. Whether we can go through the whole hog. Because for me, as a public policy consultant, analyst, I'm looking forward to see how it unfolds. Would it be one of those cases where they will say, no, we won't prosecute? Because the Attorney General can say, no, I have applied not to prosecute. So if we go through the whole hog, what will it look like? I'm sure my brother here would also, people in law school would now find out, it will present new dimension in our jurisprudence.
Yeah.
It will really, so I'm looking at it. I remember reading philosophy of law. So in law, whether it's punishment, whether it's prosecution, whatever it is, each of them have a philosophical perspective, arguments, and all. So let's see how it unfolds. For me, it will improve our jurisprudence. So if it goes through the whole hog.
But then a lot of people have said EFCC, ICPC are being used or something when it comes to arrests like this. Nigerians, a lot is being said. Okay, take for instance now, supporters and critics may interpret, for instance, his passport seizure as intimidation. Some of these things as intimidation. What do you think?
Well, like my brother Ezogu earlier said, you give an invitation. That should have been the first thing. His lawyers say we got an invitation and we agreed on a date. Now, listening to his interview, he now says, look, it wasn't the EFCC that were at the airport, that it was ICPC. If I recall, I heard him say that it was ICPC that came to the airport. But as at that time, his team argued that they had no letter from ICPC, because both EFCC and ICPC are concurrent institutions. Now, the Kaduna State House of Assembly is saying, I think about 433 billion naira were misappropriated. And this money were loans given. So the first question that comes to my head is, can a loan be misapplied? Now, who gave the loan? Where did it come from? I was thinking by now that we would have had a white paper on that panel report from the committee's report from Kaduna State House of Assembly. It's because I'm interested in learning the process. So the next question becomes, was it a loan from the World Bank or from IMF or from London creditors, Paris creditors and all that? Because that's the first question. Because even if you look at basic processes of loans are such that the conditionalities are so hard. I'm not saying there are no possibility of having meddled with it. That's not, but I'm just looking at he said 2004 or 2024, and now this is 2025. 2026. So that time lag, why was it? Was it for political negotiation? And why has the Kaduna State government released a white paper on this? Or was it the Kaduna State House of Assembly that now sent the petition to EFCC? They are quite, and then you sent a petition to EFCC and then to ICPC. What for? Because it should have, for me, it should have been you sent to one institution and allow that institution to be on it. Or was it what they call in law, throw all the books on him and let him start removing them? Do you understand? Because there's a process of throw all the books on him and let him start removing them. So there's quite a lot of conjectures that you can come up with. But there could be looking at this
investigation. It could be that all the while there've been investigation going on without us knowing, because I think I heard the EFCC chairman. He was granting an interview in one TV station, and he was talking about a governor in Nigeria that was arrested, and the case, some people are saying, well, he's moving freely and all of that. And the presenter asked him, why that? And he said, well, investigations can go on for as long as possible. And he called a name of some foreign interventions and all of that. If investigations are going on, it could take time. Don't you think it's possible that all this while investigations were on, all right, concerning the former Kaduna State governor, and now maybe one thing leading to the other, confirming one or two things, the arrest?
No, I think the key thing I'm simply saying, just a follow-up to what Dr. Ezeogu had said, you had 2024, the committee report comes. The expectation is that the committee moves their report to the executive arm of Kaduna State. There's an attorney general of Kaduna State. There's a director of public prosecution. Even without coming to EFCC, they can take it up from Kaduna State. That's the law. Even without coming to ICPC or EFCC. The director of public prosecution in Kaduna State can initiate action. So was it political expediency? So it wouldn't be, oh, it's Kaduna people that are doing it, because that would have political implication in future. Let's think about Donald Trump in the United States, Joe Biden. They threw all the books on Donald Trump. In fact, there were several cases against Donald Trump. But at each point in time, each of those were now building his profile. You saw how it ended. So the point is that in taking up either a corruption fight or a political fight is to look at history. Look at is it what we can win? Is it a battle for today? Is it a battle we should postpone? Is it a battle we should take on now? These are clearly the issues. So I'm seeing it purely from the point of view of public policy. Will it create distraction for us now? Can we afford to ignore El-Rufai? If we ignore him, what is at the price? Is he setting a bait on us so that if we fall for it, it becomes another distraction? Because as a government, you need all the time to think, put on your energy, put on your resources to solve daily problems.
All right, let me get to Doctor now. But the movement of El-Rufai from APC, all right, to another party, ADC, it doesn't, APC didn't feel like it had any impact on it, on them. So I don't know. Do you think the departure of El-Rufai from APC, because a lot of people said he left because he was not made a minister. That was what some Nigerians were saying. After the nomination, the screening, he didn't go through with that because of some cases that he had pending and all of that. But when he left, a lot of people say APC they didn't even feel it. Are you of the same school of thought, Doctor?
Well, before then, let me just run a small comment on the earlier question you asked him. Like I did mention earlier, I'm not even too sure which one government is prosecuting now, because I read today where they said they collected his passport at the airport because of the disappearance of a journalist in Kaduna.
Yeah, no, a social media influencer, yeah, Dadati.
Are you getting me? So, if we begin to place them on the table, you have the case of corruption. You're now having the case of security breach, of course. That came up from whatever. Yeah. There must be a remote cause, something that gingered him to begin, for them to begin to look for him.
Yeah.
And like you said, Kaduna State has the Attorney General. Whatever, this government came up 2023, right? May 6, 2023. If there was any reason to prosecute El-Rufai and his son for the disappearance of that social media influencer, that should have been done earlier than now. There you go. That should have been done independent of the corruption charges and the rest of it. And now we're having that one at the back I mean, at the backstage, and we're now having the issue of corruption this way, and now government appears even more interested in the security breach, because that appears to excite Nigerians. People are beginning to wonder, oh, so it's possible to hack this. When you talk of hacking, for those who are experts in it, those who are doing all of that, we've had cases where, I mean, we've heard of them, I've not seen any, where people have hacked accounts of people, individuals, bank accounts. Phone hacking is just a small thing they do. They give you one code and ask you to do this, and if you touch that code, next second, everything about you is not the card.
Call it officially.
You understand? Yeah. So that's by the way. To your last question about the impact of his movement from APC and all of that. See, like I said, I know that El-Rufai has followership. Even if that followership is just within his tribal inclination, I mean, has tribal inclination and all that, his people directly and all that. But I know that before this time, El-Rufai was one person that you could refer to and say, hey, yes, this man was, he had a pedigree. As FCT minister, he did so much and people really applauded him. Right or wrong, I don't know, I wasn't here then. And when he got to Kaduna as the governor of Kaduna State, I think that was the same, people expected so much, given his antecedents as FCT minister. Now, of course, having been a governor, having been FCT minister and all of that, having been a BP, Director General, one should expect that he should have a community that should even cut across his tribe, that cut across his immediate environment, that spread, that you can now spread all the whole of northern Nigeria. Of course, he should have. And in southern Nigeria too, he should have. People who still admire him and all that. So when such a person who has held such offices leaves a political party, I mean, you can't dismiss it with a wave of hand that don't mind it, that not. No, that would be a wrong. And let me tell you what I suspect might happen eventually. And like I said, there is already a vacuum within the Buharist enclave. There's already a vacuum there. I hope at the end of the day, what you said about Donald Trump will end up with what we are having in El-Rufai, making him more popular, making him begin to, press some emotional and sentimental buttons, making him begin to talk on religion and some other things that will probably begin to get people around him and all of that. And if he establishes that, he becomes almost a brand. And some persons begin to look at him as somebody who talks for them. Right or wrongly, those who witnessed what played out at the EFCC office yesterday, I think, saw a situation where a group of persons, so many of them, were actually against arraigning him or even inviting him to the EFCC. There was another group again who were happy and jumping up and excited that he was brought there, and those ones who insisted that he should face the law. Well, without prejudice to what we already know in our political system, in our social system, if you need 5,000 men now, you can just go to the street, pay them.
All right.
That is the level
I wish we could have enough time to talk about
the level that reduce some of us in this country. So
well,
you just go to the street and you
the for and against.
And again, you know the irony.
Our time is up.
You know the irony. Somebody is carrying a play card, but when you ask him,
why you carrying All right, well, thank you, Doctor, for joining us on the conversation. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Elsevena, for joining us on the conversation. Everyone, this is the size of issues today. But then, before you go for any protest, you should know why you are actually going for that protest. What's going to happen going forward concerning the arraignment of the former governor of Kaduna State? Keep your fingers crossed. we will let you know with the developing stories right from here on Global Television. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now.